What's up, everybody? It's Jack and Dan.
And today we're making more progress on the Green Lantern tank.
Yeah, check it out. All right, so first thing we're doing today, getting all this glass under control, right? Yeah. Before we do anything else. We have to get all the glass fixtures situated and figured out before we put the gravel in. So, last video you saw, we were messing around with these cyclones. We had these hurricanes. These are about 3.5 inches. We went to an awesome place, one of our favorite places to go, called At Home, right?
Yeah, it's really good for like...
There I am in the mirror. How you doing?
It's very good for like little home trinkets.
Oh, it's an amazing place. I took Pamela. She was there for like 5 hours. Didn't want to leave. Anyway, we found these little hurricanes. We always check out the clearance rack. Yeah. Always check out the clearance rack, and we got lots and lots of awesome stuff. We found these little hurricanes, part of a little candle thing. You can see they are a little bit smaller. So they work a little bit better. They're the same exact height as these guys. So we're going to use these for a different tank, or possibly in this tank. We're not exactly sure yet. We may use them in another tank for under gravel lighting. But anyway, these are a little bit thinner. They'll still allow the pill or magnetic piece of, vortexiness, awesome word I just made up, to move. So they give it the freedom, but not too restrictive. So that's awesome. So those two are in there. These two are coming out. So those are out. Those two are in. Now, if you remember when we were messing around with these vortexes, one of the things is these guys started to float. So we took a little crazy glue, a little super glue, and we glued some rocks on there. Got these guys for literally next to nothing, and it was very easy to do. Actually, I did this on a lunch break a few days ago, and I'll insert that little video here. Okay, so basically got a bunch of these guys from a craft store, Michael's. They were on a clearance rack. There was about 50 little containers of these for $1.99. And they must have had a surplus or something, so they were on clearance. I think normally they were $4 or $5. So honestly, great deal. And we get stuff like this all the time. I washed them off, rinsed them with hot water, and what I did is I brought them over here on the desk and sanded some of them. Also sanded the edge of the glass a little bit and used a little brick to hold this because obviously it didn't want to sit still. So just going to try to super glue. So far it seems to be working well. Super glue some of these rocks to the bottom. Going to put them about 45 degree, 90, maybe about 90 degrees away from each other, so they'll be faced toward the back so they won't really occlude anything. Honestly, it works really good. I put some crazy glue on there, popped it on there, and let it sit on top, and in literally 15-20 seconds it was all set. So you can see the ones hanging down here that I already did. Now I'm going to glue these guys on. Okay, so I'm going to let those dry. I did set these old bricks in there just real gently on the edge. Probably should have put a rag or something, but I did it very gently so it wouldn't scratch or move. And again, this is all going to be toward the bottom anyway. Didn't take a ton of glue. Let me see if I can get a shot up inside here. Yeah, there you go. You can see just a little smidgen of glue there. Hopefully we'll hold that on. When I get these standing up, I may pour a little bit more glue down the top, let it kind of drip around the sides of this actual rock. But I'll test them, and if they're strong enough and I don't need to add any more, then cool. And then I'm going to put them in some water, and if they're good to go, we're going to start designing the rest of this tank. The cool part is, and you'll see as we start to fill this tank up, when we get the gravel and everything in it, we'll be able to put more air in here, and we'll be able to make the larger vortexes because these rocks will hold this down with more air in it. So that was one of the cool things. We also got this pretty awesome mamma jamma. Went to an old, kind of a resale shop in a cool part of Cleveland called Lakewood. That's where all the hip kids live, right? Yeah. All hip people and the cool people. But they have these really cool old shops where they sell stuff from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And Pamela was over there shopping for, cool clothes like she does. And I saw this, and you can see why I was attracted to this. It looks kind of like a big explosion coming out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a big water thing.
So we're going to put this as the centerpiece. And one of the things we liked about it the most is the bottom is completely flat. So pushed against the bottom of the tank, that will form a little bit of a vacuum and be perfectly flat. And we will, of course, put a light under there, and that light will shine up through this and make the whole entire thing glow. And, of course, we'll probably use a green light, because the Green Lantern tank. We might even have something very special inside of that, but we're not going to say what it is because it's kind of a surprise. Later on, we're going to put some in there. So That's going to be the centerpiece. These are going to be the vortexes. And then we found these guys. And we've been messing around with lots of what we call vacuums, right? If you take a big thing like this and you turn it upside down inside the tank and you remove all the air, the fish can go up in it. And so what we're going to be doing with that, and we've done this before. We did it on a 220. We had a big, huge vacuum coming out of that went all the way to the ceiling before. But we rescaped it because we get bored, with those. These two round guys are going to come out. However, you have to have something good to support them. So luckily, we have a bunch of those pieces of glass that we used in the 220 left over. Let's go show them those. Now, for those of you who have not seen those earlier videos, we went to a glass shop and we asked them for a whole bunch of pieces of glass, and they were very cool. It's called BK Glass in Westlake. And what they did is they took a whole bunch of remnants that they had of leftover pieces of glass, and they made us a bunch of these rectangles so that we could use them as steps. Now, they've been sitting underneath the big 220 for a while. Jack is going to be taking, while I'm kind of messing around with the vortexes and putting in the gravel and that, he's going to be over here and just cleaning these off with some old steel wool, making sure they're nice and clean so that they kind of course, allow the light through, because since they're going to be going all the way to the bottom, might as well put a light under them and light them up. So he's going to be working on this. I'm going to be working on that, and we will be showing you kind of the steps along the way. So get to work scrub-a-dubbing these guys up, buddy. All right, so while Jack's working on that, I filled it up about a third of the way, maybe even almost halfway here, and just wanted to kind of see, isn't that cool? Just with that little LED green lantern light in the back, how this thing glows like that. Isn't that super cool? Now, obviously, if we put a puck light underneath it, which we're going to do, you can see the stand and everything underneath it. There's a cross brace that goes on that stand. And we're going to slip a little puck light underneath there. You guys know we always use the puck lights and we light stuff up from the bottom. So there's going to be a light going under there. And this thing's really going to glow because it's going to be lit up from the bottom. And again, we're going to have some stuff in there and it'll be really cool. Now you can see that these guys are going, but with the water this deep, they're just getting a tiny little bit of reaction on the top here. They're about halfway up and they're still staying right in the middle of that target. See how that target's got that X? And you can see they're still stirring the water a little bit, but obviously the water's too deep for those guys to go. So that is where the domes are going to come in. But before we do anything else, we're going to see how Jack's doing on that glass over there, because we need to put those strips of glass here so we can put the vacuums on before we get the gravel in. Those domes are going to go on top of the gravel so we can basically just take them in and out for cleaning very easily. Now, as far as the gravel goes, obviously we did have quite a bit of gravel in the original Green Lantern tank with the puffers. It was a mixture of sand, black gravel, plus we had a couple of these little pieces of gray, kind of silver. We're just going to keep those in. There's only a few. We added some more black gravel, mixed it up real good. There is also water in here and all of those amazing Malaysian trumpet snails, who should still be living fine because they've only been in here for like a day because we just tore that little 20-gallon down. Jack had a great idea to take some of these kind of like glowfish green gravel, mix it in. Not too much of it. We might only put like half a bag or so, just to give it that green look, even more green, so that when the black light is on and everything, there'll be some green speckles and stuff like that. All right, after adding a little bit at a time, we just decided to add the whole bag because we thought it actually looked pretty cool. So there you go. The cool part is all of that water and substrate and medium and bacteria is still in there. So this tank really isn't going to require cycling. That's the nice part about breaking down a tank and doing a new tank like that. So we're going to add that in here, and also all of the sponge filters were in this tank too. So this tank is basically just going to be a buildup from the other tank. Now what we did here is we have these little glass steps going in here. We're basically measuring where we want them to go. We're going to make sure we have room for the dome, and we're going to make sure they're where they want to be. And we are actually going to put the vacuums in there and get them done. Now, these vacuums are relatively big. So there's probably about 2 gallons of water there at 8.8 pounds per gallon. These things with the glass are probably close to about 20 pounds pressing down on the sides of this tank, which is one of the reasons why we got these made larger, to distribute that weight over a large area. you wouldn't necessarily want to put a vacuum in with small steps to have, you know, it's like a high heel. All that pressure in a small area, you know, could break your glass, even though it's tempered on the bottom. So that's why we're going to put these strips like this. Those guys will go upside down inside of here, but first we'll fill them with water. So we're going to show you how we're going to do that, and we're going to set all that up and then get the gravel in here. Okay, so Jack finished cleaning all of these. We've started to put them in here. Now, a lot of people have asked us about the technique, and this is very difficult to explain without actually doing it, but I'll try to do my best. It's kind of hard to explain though, right, Jack?
Yes.
When you're putting glass on the bottom like this, obviously you want to measure it. It is going to slide and move around because of the water. When you put the first one down, now this is the second one already, but when you put the first one down, it's gonna move. You're gonna push on it as hard as you can, and then you're almost gonna like lift back up on it, and you're gonna notice that it forms like a vacuum. It'll stick then when you try to do that, and then you're gonna push it down again. You're gonna do that multiple times, and what you're doing is you're pushing the water out between the two panes of glass and forming like a vacuum. There's two things that's going to achieve. Number one, no algae is going to grow on that hardly at all because it's really not going to have any space to grow. Secondly, the glass isn't going to move. And then as you put down each pane of glass, you're again pushing as hard as you can, and then pulling a little tiny bit, and then pushing again. And it's almost like you're forming a vacuum between each layer of glass. And obviously, well, there's a bad, there, you can see better over here. Now, obviously, there's air bubbles because we were filling that in, but you can see there are two pieces of glass now. I'll move over here where you can maybe see a little better. There you go. So we have two panes of glass down now. Again, there's air bubbles because we just filled it. And we just basically took a ruler, measured where we wanted them to be. What this is going to do is this is going to allow us to put that vacuum in there, and then the fish are going to be able to go either in the front or the back and go up into that vacuum and up out of the tank, look around the room, and go back down. And it's really kind of a neat effect. The black lights are going to be hanging right over those, so we'll kind of show you those. I don't know that we're going to get to the lights today. That may be the next video. But we're going to put about 5 or 6 of these down on each one. You have to remember that it's going to take 2 panes of these glass, even though half of an inch each. If you have an inch of substrate, it's going to take 2 panes of glass just to make it out of that, and then you're going to need another few so that the fish have room to go up into this. So it's a really cool effect. So we're going to continue to put these down, and then we're going to get the vacuums in here and show you how to do that. Okay, I'm going to show you real quick. You can see we're putting on a 3rd level here. Did all the other ones. See how this is floating around very easily. You're going to center it. You're going to push really hard all of your weight on there. And then it's going to basically suction to it. And then you're just going to line it up with the last one by using your fingers and thumbs and thumb. And you're going to line it up, and then you're going to push on it again really hard. And that will cause that vacuum to form. And now you can see if I try to pull up on this, it's almost like they're all stuck together. They're like vacuumed together, okay? So you just kind of keep doing that. You might have to do it 3 or 4 times, but once you squeeze that water out of there, it almost kind of forms a vacuum. And so you don't have to keep remeasuring and stuff like that. All right, guys, so here's where we're at. We ended up putting 10 of these in. We wanted to make sure they were high enough to stick out, and also so the fish could get underneath it, because we're going to have about 1 inch or 2 of substrate. Now, Jack, if you bring the camera up here, you can see these are exactly 1/2 inch each. So this is going up to, whoops, turn the ruler around. This is going up to 5 inches. So even with 2 inches or 1.5 inch of substrate, we're going to have 3 inches for them to be able to go in. And we did the same process. This takes the longest of this whole design. Putting it on, pressing it down a few times, and straightening it out. Now again, this is the cheaper way to do it, even though it takes a little longer. He only charges $1 for a set of 2 of these pieces of glass. So even if we have 40 pieces of glass here, this was like 20 bucks to do, 50 cents a piece. If you were to try to find big blocks of glass, it would be way more expensive than 20 bucks. It would be more than 40. It would be well over $100. We know, we've looked them up. Now there are some things you can find out there, acrylic and things like that, but they're not easy to find, and these are easier to work with because you can adjust the height to whatever you want. The other thing is again, if you push it down the way that we showed you, they kind of vacuum. So what we're gonna do is, the reason that we like using the glass instead of brick is when we put the under gravel lights down, they're gonna shine up through here, and these are all gonna light up along with the other sculptures. The first thing we're gonna do though, before we get anything else done here, is we're gonna put the actual vacuums in here. So we took the other sculptures out, you can see, to make room. Those little pills are still spinning though. But we took the other stuff out. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna show you guys how we're gonna put these vacuums in here and a really easy way to do it. All right, basically what you're gonna do here, and again, this is kind of tricky, is you're gonna submerge this so it doesn't have air in it. You're gonna turn it up, and then you're gonna position it, you know, on these two. So Jack's gonna try to kind of show me doing this the best he can. But basically what you're gonna do here is you're gonna sink it so it's full of water, get all the air out of it, okay? Now we'll get some air in it because fish will take it up, you know, there, and because of plants and things like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna tilt it over here in the middle, and it's gonna get pretty heavy when you try to take it out of the water. And I'm gonna bring it over here to these guys, and I'm gonna gently set it down with my hand right in between the two pillars of glass, okay? There we go. Now, not super hard. Again, we're gonna position it so it's centered and everything. But what that'll do is that'll kind of give you this cool effect for these fish to come out on top. Now again, we can raise it more if we want, we could lower it more if we want, but it'll give the fish a little bit of a place where they can kind of go hide. You know, I mean, smaller fish, if they want privacy or if they want whatever, they can go in these cylinders. They usually have a tendency to figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, even when we had the big tank up there in the aqua cave with the turtles, animals are pretty smart. So they'll go up in here. A lot of times the plecos will go up in here, clean the whole thing for us. So we never really have to take them down once they're up. And they'll go in here and clean it and everything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the other one now, and then we're gonna have those set up, and then we're gonna put the other glass sculptures in, and then get the gravel, you know, substrate and everything in here. All right, guys, so as you can see, we got all the substrate in here, but because it was used and pre-prepared, it's kind of murky, huh?
It's murky, you can't even see the light.
No. So obviously tomorrow morning we're gonna have to kind of finish dealing with this after this all settles. The other thing we had to do is these guys were still floating a little bit, so we super glued 2 more rocks on each one of these. Now I do not think that they're going to. They're pretty heavy now. We're gonna make sure that this is dry, put it by a fan overnight, and hopefully tomorrow we can mess around a little bit more with straightening out the gravel. All right, guys, it's the next morning, and basically, in Jack's words, how did you put it? We just put a little too much doom in here.
Yeah, too much doom. It's a bit murky.
So basically, we took the entire substrate from that tank and the filter, you know, everything, and put it in here. So it's just way too murky to see what's going on here. We're probably going to end this video and then take off on the next video of where this is. A lot of the substrate and the kind of murk has settled on top. So let me turn this around just to show you what's going on here. So basically what we're gonna do throughout the next few days is go ahead and get the water down, vacuum out a lot of that substrate kind of murk that has settled on top, get the gravel positioned. You can see that we do have bricks on top of the hurricanes and middle thing, and that's to hold them in place, right? Sorry, I still got morning voice here. Basically, that's going to hold them in place. Once we get the gravel all situated, we'll take those bricks out and probably also vacuum those guys out because they're going to have some murk in them and stuff like that. And we'll set up the heaters and we'll set up the sponge filters. This is going to have sponge filters. So that way this will all be clean and much easier to see and be, you know, again, have more water in it to the top. And what we will be doing in the next video is hooking up those under gravel lights, right?
Yeah.
All of the lights will be underneath this glass. We're going to show you how to do that. We're actually taking them off of this tank. This tank Still has a lot of underground lights in it, but we're going to be changing that scape.
Yeah, and you can't really see them anymore because it's like covered. So.
They kind of did their own scaping in there.
Yeah, they kind of move stuff.
The clown loaches and stuff. And so we're going to be kind of changing that around. So those lights from that tank are going to be going on here. And then we're also going to be putting above lights. Some lights are going to be hanging down over this. And then we're also going to have a strip. We have to put a top on this guy. We also have a decal that we're going to be putting on this wall. So that's going to be really cool. So the next video is going to have a lot of that kind of stuff. We're also going to be showing the cyclones working in the next video because you'll be able to actually see. So anyway, the hard part of this is done. Really getting all those glass steps in there, hooking up these guys, you know, getting all this stuff positioned and measured. Now it's all done. Now it's just a fun, easy part where we just put on all the lights and stuff like that. So that'll be in the next video. Make sure, of course, you do what, man?
You hit the bell for notifications when we do more stuff with the tank.
Yeah, subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll see the follow-up. We're going to be doing follow-up on all of our aquariums. We do those every single Friday, don't we?
Yeah.
And look at all this stuff that's going to be going in and around this tank. It's going to be
crazy.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to have, we'll just give you a little spoiler. Of course, we have the black lights. The domes are going to be going back on.
A little sneak peek.
Yeah, these are the lanterns. We wanted to kind of make it look like a green lantern. Those are the light fixtures going to be hanging down over top of these vacuums. They're going to be like on top of there like a lantern. And
only one can guess what this is.
yeah, that's a really special thing that we're going to be revealing later. And then, of course, Jack said, hey, we've never done a tank with the clapper.
Yeah, because that way we can, maybe if we have the vortexes set to a good setting, we can clap and then go like,
Right. I think we'll probably have to still do the vortexes manually.
That might
but
be hard, but it'd be cool.
We may use the clapper for some lights. Never did that before. The other thing is we're going to be putting the aqua trails on this aquarium that we got from the gentleman that patented those. He did send us 2 of those, and we're going to use them. We're going to put them on this. It's going to be really cool. We're going to show you, instead of connecting 2 tanks, we're going to be using them on one design, but we're going to give it a space, and those are going to be for some particularly cool fish that, again, we'll be sharing.
Interesting fish.
Yeah, we'll be sharing what we're going to be putting in here. This will be a series, guys. So anyway, all this stuff will be starting to go in there. We're going to show you how we do all that. We're just going to get the sponge filters in here, clean it up, and do all that so that it's ready for next time. And we'll take off pretty much right where we left off.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we like clapped it, because like Green Lantern has like magical powers. So if you like clapped it and the vortexes went on, that'd be really cool.
It would be, but I don't think it's going to work. I think we're going to really have to turn those vortexes on manually because they have to start from zero after experimenting with them. But we can definitely hook it up maybe to the Green Lantern light in the back, or maybe the under gravel lights. Either way, I've never used a clapper in 44 years of designing aquariums. And Jack said, hey, we got to try it. So who knows? Maybe we'll put the whole entire house on clappers and just wake up and clap, and all the lights will turn on and all the tanks have to clap pretty loud. We'll see what happens. But, hey, we will see you next time, guys. We will continue this design, and it's going to be a really, really fun one. Take care, guys, and have a great weekend.